The cold metal table pressed against Kixtha's back. Her reptilian scales, once a bright green, had turned dull gray from pain and fear. The missing arm where her left shoulder used to be still hurt. Even though the Veltaran doctors had sealed the wound weeks ago, she stared at the white ceiling of the medical room, trying not to think about how she had lost that arm. 3 tall aliens stood around her table. They looked like walking glass sculptures with blue light flowing through their transparent bodies. These were the Veltarans, the most advanced race in this part of the galaxy. They were supposed to be peaceful, but Kixtha knew they were scared. Everyone was scared now. The lead scientist, Zephyr, touched a control panel near Kixtha's head. Strange symbols appeared in the air above the table, glowing softly. Kixtha had seen this technology before. It could read memories directly from a living brain. Most species used it to share knowledge or experiences. The Veltarans wanted to use it to understand what had happened at the Kepler 442 system. "We need to know what you saw," Zephyr said, in a voice that sounded like wind chimes. "The reports from your military make no sense. How could your empire lose so many ships to such a primitive species?" Kixtha closed her eyes. She did not want to remember. She did not want to think about the humans and what they had done. But the images came anyway, flooding her mind like poison. "You don't understand," she whispered. "None of you understand what they are." Another Veltaran scientist, Lireth, made a soft humming sound. "The humans? Our scouts say they barely learned to travel between stars 50 cycles ago. Their technology is simple. Their ships are weak. How could they defeat the Mordaki Empire?" Kixtha opened her eyes and looked at them. These peaceful beings had never fought a real war. They solved problems with science and discussion. They had never met anything like the humans. "Weak ships," she repeated, almost laughing. Yes, their ships were weak. But that didn't matter. It never mattered to them. Zephyr adjusted the memory device. "We will see for ourselves. The Galactic Council needs to understand this threat. Human ships have been spotted near our outer colonies. We must know what we're dealing with. Threat?" Kixtha's voice cracked. "You still think this is about military strength? About who has better weapons or faster ships?" She tried to sit up, but the restraints held her down. The Veltarans had said the restraints were for her own safety, to keep her from hurting herself during the memory extraction. But Kixtha knew they were also afraid she might try to escape, not because she was dangerous, but because she carried knowledge they needed. "The humans," she said slowly. "They don't fight to win battles. They don't fight to capture territory or steal resources. They fight to end things, permanently." Lireth exchanged a look with the third scientist, Mira-An. "All species fight to achieve their goals. What makes humans different?" Kixtha stared at the ceiling again. How could she explain? How could she make them understand something that went against everything they knew about warfare and civilization? "Because they're not like us," she said finally. "When we fight, we calculate risks. We weigh costs and benefits. We have rules and limits. The humans, they threw all of that away." Zephyr activated the memory device. Kixtha felt a strange tingling in her skull as the machine began to connect with her brain. Soon, these peaceful scientists would see what she had seen. They would witness the moment when the galaxy learned that humanity was not just another spacefaring species. "Wait," Kixtha said suddenly. "Before you look into my memories, you need to understand something. What happened at Kepler 442 wasn't the beginning. It was the end of a process that started months earlier." "What process?" Miran asked. "Learning," Kixtha said. "The humans were learning about us. About how we fight, how we think, how we see war itself. And we taught them everything they needed to know to destroy us." The memory device hummed louder. Kixtha could feel it digging into her thoughts, searching for the specific events the Veltarans wanted to see. But memories didn't work that way. To understand what happened at the Great Battle, they would have to see how it all began. "The first contact," she murmured. "That's where it started, when Commander Thexel decided to visit their little blue planet." Zephyr leaned forward. "You were there? At first contact with humanity?" "I was the communications officer on the flagship," Kixtha said. "I heard every word the humans said. I watched our commander make the same mistake every species makes when they first meet humans." "What mistake?" "Thinking they were like us." Kixtha's voice became very quiet. "Thinking they would respond to superior force with surrender. Thinking they would be reasonable." The memory device locked onto the images in her mind. Suddenly, the room around them changed. The white walls disappeared, replaced by the bridge of a Mordaki warship. The three Velteran scientists found themselves standing in Kixtha's memories, watching events that had happened 3 months ago. They could see Commander Thexel sitting in his command chair, confident and proud. 12 of the Empire's finest warships surrounded a small blue planet. It should have been a simple operation. Show strength, demand submission, take what they needed, and move on to the next system. But as the memory played out, the Velterans began to understand why Kixtha was so terrified. They watched the human response to their demands. They heard the words that would change everything. "You came to the wrong neighborhood." Those 6 words, spoken by a human admiral named Hyun-woo, marked the moment when the galaxy's understanding of warfare began to crumble. The Velterans watched in shock as the memory continued, showing them something they had never imagined possible. They saw a species that chose to fight even when they could not win. Kixtha's voice echoed in the memory space around them. "You wanted to know what makes humans different? Watch carefully, and remember, this was just the beginning." The memory device pulled them deeper into Kixtha's experiences, toward the moment when 3 human ships faced throughout Mordaki vessels in the space above Earth. The Velterans were about to learn why every military force in the galaxy now spoke the word human in whispers. The bridge of the Mordaki flagship hummed with quiet efficiency. Commander Thexel sat in his command chair, his 4 arms resting casually on the armrests. His black scales reflected the soft blue light from the control panels around him. This was routine work, the kind of mission he had done hundreds of times before. Kixtha stood at her communications station, monitoring the radio signals coming from the planet below. The blue world spun slowly beneath their fleet of 12 warships. It was a beautiful planet, with white clouds swirling over green and brown continents, perfect for colonization after they removed the current inhabitants. "Report," Thexel said in his deep voice. "The species calls themselves humans," Kixtha replied, reading from her screens. "They have achieved basic faster-than-light travel. Population approximately 8 billion. They have crude nuclear weapons and simple energy shields." Thexel nodded. "Defense capabilities?" "Minimal," said his tactical officer Vexor. "We detect only 3 warships in orbit around their planet. Primitive fusion drives, kinetic weapons, basic computer systems. They pose no threat to our fleet. This was how it always went. The Mordaki Empire found a new species, evaluated their strength, and then made them an offer they couldn't refuse. Join the Empire as servants or be destroyed. Most species chose to serve. A few chose to fight and were quickly eliminated. Standard procedure, Thexel ordered. Open communications with their leadership. Inform them of our requirements." Kixtha activated the long-range communicator. After a few moments, a signal came back from the planet. The main screen flickered, showing the face of a human male. He had dark hair and serious eyes. Text appeared below his image identifying him as Admiral Hyun-woo of something called the Terran Defense Force. "This is Commander Thexel of the Mordaki Empire," Thexel began, using the standard first contact speech he had memorized years ago. "You are now under the protection of our empire. We require the following resources from your world: 70% of your refined metals, 60% of your energy production, and 40% of your population for labor purposes. You have 24 hours to begin compliance." Admiral Hyun-woo listened without interrupting. His face showed no emotion as Thexel explained the terms. Most species became frightened at this point. They would beg for mercy or try to negotiate better terms. Some would cry. A few would get angry but still submit to superior force. The human admiral did none of these things. "I need to discuss this with my government," Hyun-woo said calmly. "Give me 1 hour." Thexel was surprised but pleased. This species seemed reasonable. 1 hour, he agreed and cut the transmission. "Sir," Vexor said from his station, "their 3 ships are moving into defensive positions around the planet." "Let them," Thexel replied. "It makes no difference. Their weapons cannot penetrate our shields." During the next hour, the Mordaki fleet maintained position while the humans organized their response. Kixtha monitored their communications, learning about their military structure. The 3 human ships were called the Soul's Pride, the Busan Defender, and the Earth's Hope. Admiral Hyun-woo commanded the Earth's Hope from its bridge. Captain Dongwoo led the Soul's Pride, while Captain So-young controlled the Busan Defender. When the hour was up, Admiral Hyun-woo appeared on their screen again. Thexel expected to hear terms of surrender. Instead, the human said something that would haunt Kixtha's nightmares for the rest of her life. You came to the wrong neighborhood. Thexel stared at the screen. I don't understand. Are you refusing our offer? We're not just refusing, Hyunwoo said. We're telling you to leave our system immediately. This is your only warning. The bridge fell silent. Kixtha had never heard anyone speak to a Mordaki commander like that. Even powerful species showed respect when facing superior numbers. This human was talking to them like they were the ones at a disadvantage. You have 3 ships, Thexel said slowly. We have 12. Our weapons are superior. Our shields are stronger. Your technology is primitive compared to ours. Why would you choose to fight? Admiral Hyunwoo smiled, but it wasn't a happy expression. Because this is our home, and you just threatened our families. Your families will be spared if you surrender now, Thexel offered. We are not unreasonable. Submit, and your species will have a place in our empire. No. The word came out flat and final. You don't understand. We're not negotiating with you. We're not afraid of you, and we're definitely not surrendering to you. Vexor looked confused. Commander, their behavior doesn't match any known patterns. Most species show fear or anger when facing superior force. These humans seem excited. Kixtha checked her screens again. The 3 human ships had indeed moved into attack formation. But more disturbing, she was detecting massive activity on the planet's surface. Factories were running at maximum capacity. Military bases were activating. The entire human civilization appeared to be preparing for war. Admiral Hyunwoo, Thexel said, making his voice more threatening. You are making a serious mistake. Our weapons can destroy your planet from orbit. Why are you risking the lives of billions for pride? Pride? Hyunwoo laughed. This isn't about pride. This is about teaching you something important. What could you possibly teach us? That humans don't back down from bullies, Hyunwoo said. No matter how big they are. Captain So-young's voice came through the communication channel. Admiral, the Busan Defender is ready for combat. Seoul's Pride standing by, added Captain Dongwoo. Admiral Hyunwoo nodded to his captains, then looked directly at Thexel. Commander, you have 10 minutes to leave our system. After that, we consider you hostile invaders. Hostile invaders? Thexel couldn't believe what he was hearing. We are offering you membership in the greatest empire in the galaxy. We already have a government, Hyunwoo replied. We don't need another one. The transmission ended. The main screen showed the 3 human ships moving toward the Mordaki fleet. Their formation was strange, not following any tactical pattern Vexor recognized. They seemed to be spreading out as if trying to face all 12 enemy ships at once. This is madness, Vexor muttered. They cannot possibly win. But Kixtha was beginning to realize something that chilled her to the bone. The humans weren't trying to win. They were trying to send a message. And that message was more dangerous than any weapon. Sir, she said quietly, I recommend we withdraw and report this to High Command. Withdraw? Thexel roared. From 3 primitive ships, never. He turned to his weapons officer. Target their lead vessel. Minimal power. We'll disable them and take their crews prisoner. Perhaps time in our cells will make them more reasonable. As the Mordaki weapons powered up, Admiral Hyunwoo's voice came through the speakers one last time. Today you learned something new about humans, he said. We fight best when we're angry. And you just made us very, very angry. The first shot came from the Mordaki flagship. A bright blue beam of energy struck the Earth's Hope directly on its forward shield. The human ship shook but kept moving forward. Admiral Hyunwoo's voice crackled over the communication system. All ships, this is Admiral Hyunwoo. Remember what we discussed. Fight smart, not fair. Kixtha watched from her position on the Mordaki bridge as the battle began. She expected it to be over quickly. The human ships were smaller, slower, and carried weaker weapons. Their shields flickered under the first enemy attacks. Any reasonable species would have surrendered at this point, but the humans did something completely unexpected. Captain So-young's ship, the Busan Defender, suddenly accelerated directly toward the largest Mordaki vessel. Instead of trying to fight at a safe distance, she was flying straight into the enemy formation. What is she doing? Vexor asked, staring at his tactical display. That's suicide. Commander Thexel watched the human ship approach. She's trying to ram us. Desperate tactics. Destroy her before she reaches our hull. Energy beams from 4 Mordaki ships struck the Busan Defender. Her shields collapsed immediately. Fire erupted from her engines. The ship began to spin out of control, but Captain So-young didn't change course. "This is Captain So-young to all human vessels." Her voice came through clearly despite the damage to her ship. "I'm going to make a hole in their defenses. Use it. So-young, eject," Admiral Hyunwoo shouted. "That's an order." "Sorry, Admiral," she replied. "But orders are for people who plan to survive." The Busan Defender smashed into the shield generator of the nearest Mordaki cruiser. The explosion was enormous, bright enough to light up the space around both ships. When the light faded, both vessels were gone. But the explosion had done something the Mordaki didn't expect. Captain Dongwoo's voice filled the communication channel. So-young's sacrifice created an electromagnetic pulse. "The big ship's shields are down for 30 seconds. Kixtha looked at her instruments in shock. The humans had somehow turned their own destruction into a tactical advantage. This went against everything she knew about space combat. The Soul's Pride fired a spread of missiles toward the damaged Mordaki ship. But these weren't normal missiles. As they flew through space, they split apart, becoming dozens of smaller projectiles. Each one contained what human computers identified as nuclear warheads. Nuclear mines with proximity sensors. Captain Dongwoo announced, "If you get too close, they explode. If you try to run, they follow you." The Mordaki ship tried to destroy the mines with defensive weapons, but there were too many. When the first mine detonated, it triggered a chain reaction. The explosion destroyed the cruiser and damaged 2 other ships nearby. In less than 5 minutes, the humans had eliminated 3 Mordaki vessels. The odds had changed from 12 against 3 to 9 against 2, but Captain Dongwoo had used all his missiles in that attack. His ship was now defenseless against enemy weapons. Energy beams from multiple Mordaki ships struck the Soul's Pride, tearing through its hull. "This is Captain Dongwoo." His voice was calm despite the fact that his ship was dying around him. "Admiral, I'm transmitting all tactical data we've gathered about their shield frequencies and weapon patterns. Use it well." The Soul's Pride exploded a moment later, taking another Mordaki ship with it in the blast. Now it was 1 human ship against 8 alien vessels. Any military computer would calculate the odds as impossible. The Earth's hope couldn't win this fight. But Admiral Hyunwoo wasn't trying to win in any traditional sense. "This is Admiral Hyunwoo to the Mordaki fleet," he announced. "You came here to intimidate us, to make us afraid. Let me show you what fear actually looks like." The Earth's hope began to move in ways that made no sense to Vexor's tactical computer. Instead of trying to maintain distance and use superior firepower, the human ship dove into the middle of the Mordaki formation. It used pieces of debris from destroyed ships as cover. It fired its weapons in patterns that seemed random but somehow always hit their targets. "He's making them angry," Kixtha realized. "He's taunting them." Admiral Hyunwoo's voice came through the speakers again. "Every species we've met fights with logic. You calculate risks and benefits. You weigh costs and advantages. We fight with emotion, and right now we're very, very angry." The Earth's hope suddenly appeared behind one of the Mordaki ships, using the wreckage of the Soul's Pride to hide its approach. Its weapons fired directly into the enemy vessel's engine core, causing a massive explosion. 7 ships left. "This is impossible," Thexel muttered. Their ship should have been destroyed 10 times over. But Kixtha was beginning to understand something that terrified her. The human admiral wasn't just fighting to protect his planet. He was teaching the Mordaki a lesson about what happened when you threatened humanity. The Earth's hope darted between enemy ships, using their own weapons against them. When one Mordaki vessel fired at the human ship, Admiral Hyunwoo positioned his vessel so the energy beam hit another alien ship instead. 6 ships left. "Sir," Kixtha said urgently, "we should consider withdrawing. This isn't a normal battle. We don't retreat from primitives," Thexel roared. But his voice carried a note of uncertainty now. The human admiral's voice filled the bridge again. "You want to know what makes humans different? We don't fight to win. We fight to make sure you never want to fight us again." The Earth's hope was heavily damaged now. Fires burned throughout its hull. Half its weapons were offline. Its shields were failing. But it kept fighting, using tactics that no computer could predict because they weren't based on logic. Admiral Hyunwoo rammed his ship into another Mordaki vessel, but at the last second he ejected his entire weapon arsenal in the direction of 2 other enemy ships. The weapons detonated on impact, destroying both targets. 4 ships left, including the flagship. "All remaining vessels," Thexel ordered. "Concentrate fire on the human ship. End this now." The 4 surviving Mordaki ships surrounded the Earth's Hope and opened fire with everything they had. The human vessel disappeared in a ball of energy and flame. For a moment, silence filled the bridge. Then Admiral Hyunwoo's voice came through the speakers one last time. His ship was gone, but he had ejected in an escape pod just before the final explosion. "This is Admiral Hyunwoo of the Terran Defense Force. You attacked our world with 12 ships. We destroyed 8 of them with 3 ships. Remember this day because it's the last time anyone underestimates humanity." Commander Thexel stared at the main screen, watching the small human escape pod drift away into space. 4 heavily armed warships had barely survived an encounter with 3 primitive vessels. "Sir," Vexor said quietly. "What are your orders?" Thexel was silent for a long moment. "Signal the fleet. We're returning to base. Sir, we achieved our objective. The human defense fleet is destroyed." "Look at the planet," Thexta said. Kixtha turned her sensors toward Earth. What she saw made her blood turn cold. The planet's surface was covered with thousands of new energy signatures, weapons being built, ships under construction, an entire civilization preparing for war. "They're not afraid," she whispered. "We just killed their defenders, and they're not afraid at all." Admiral Hyunwoo's final transmission reached them from his escape pod. "Next time you come to our system, bring more ships. You're going to need them." The 4 surviving Mordaki ships limped away from Earth's solar system. Commander Thexel sat in his command chair, staring at the damage reports scrolling across his screens. 8 ships destroyed, hundreds of crew members dead, all because of 3 primitive human vessels. "Set course for the Vega system," he ordered. "We'll regroup there and contact High Command." Kixtha worked at her communication station trying to make sense of what had happened. The battle should have been simple. Overwhelming force against inferior technology. Instead, it had become a nightmare that challenged everything she knew about warfare. "Sir," said Vexor from his tactical station, "I'm detecting a ship following us." Thexel looked up sharply. "What kind of ship?" "Human design. It appears to be the Earth's Hope." "Impossible. We saw it destroyed, but there it was on the main screen. The human flagship battered and burning, engines flickering with unstable energy. Half its hull was torn away. Atmosphere leaked from dozens of holes in its sides. The ship looked like it should have fallen apart hours ago, yet it followed them. How is that vessel still operational?" Thexel demanded. Kixtha checked her instruments. "Sir, I'm reading massive structural damage throughout the ship. Life support is failing. Their main reactor is operating far beyond safe limits. They shouldn't be able to maintain faster than light travel." "But they are maintaining it," Vexor observed. "And they're broadcasting on all frequencies." "What are they saying?" Kixtha listened to the transmission and felt her scales turn pale. "It's Admiral Hyunwoo. He's talking to everyone." The human admiral's voice filled the bridge, speaking in the common galactic language so all species could understand. "This is Admiral Hyunwoo of the Terran Defense Force. To all civilizations receiving this message, be advised that the Mordaki Empire has attacked the human homeworld without provocation. They came to our system with 12 warships and demanded our surrender. We destroyed 8 of their vessels. The survivors are now fleeing toward Vega." Thexel felt a chill run down his spine. He's telling everyone about our defeat. "The transmission is being relayed by automated beacons throughout this sector," Kixtha reported. "Every spacefaring species within 50 light-years will receive this message." Admiral Hyunwoo continued his broadcast. "The Mordaki Empire believes that superior numbers and advanced technology give them the right to enslave other species. Today they learned that humans have a different opinion. We will follow these invaders to ensure they understand the consequences of threatening our world." "Sir," Vexor said urgently, "the human ship is gaining on us." Thexel looked at the tactical display. It was true. Despite its condition, the Earth's Hope was somehow catching up to their fleet. "How is that possible?" "Our engines are undamaged." "Unknown, sir. Their reactor readings suggest they're burning their fuel at a rate that should cause a core breach within hours." "They're going to kill themselves just to follow us?" Thexel couldn't believe it, but Admiral Hyunwoo's next transmission made his intentions clear. "To the Mordaki fleet, you are now learning something important about human nature. We remember those who hurt us. We follow them. We make sure they and everyone else know the price of attacking our home." The chase continued for days. Every time the Mordaki ships tried to jump to faster than light speed, The human vessel somehow matched their course. Every few hours, Admiral Hyunwoo would broadcast another message, describing the battle at Earth and warning other species about Mordaki aggression. "This is madness," Thexel said after the third day. "Why doesn't he just go home? His planet is safe. We're retreating." Kixtha had been monitoring human communications during the pursuit. What she learned horrified her. "Sir, I don't think Admiral Hyunwoo cares about going home. According to his medical readings, he's been exposed to fatal levels of radiation from his damaged reactor. He's dying. Then why doesn't he eject and let us rescue him? Because he's not trying to survive this," Kixtha realized. "He's trying to send a message." The fourth day brought them to the Proxima Centauri system, where several alien trading stations operated. The moment they arrived, Admiral Hyunwoo's broadcast reached the stations. "This is Admiral Hyunwoo of the Terran Defense Force. I am pursuing the Mordaki fleet that attacked Earth. To any species listening, observe how the mighty Mordaki Empire runs from one damaged human ship." The trading stations lit up with communication traffic. News of the battle was spreading across the galaxy faster than the Mordaki fleet could travel. "Sir," Vexer reported, "we're receiving demands for information from the stations. They want to know why we're being pursued by a human vessel." "Tell them nothing," Thexel ordered, but it didn't matter what they said. The evidence was right there for everyone to see. 4 powerful Mordaki warships fleeing from one crippled human ship that should have been destroyed days ago. On the 5th day, the Earth's hope finally stopped. Its engines had burned out completely. The ship drifted powerless in space, no longer able to pursue its quarry. But Admiral Hyunwoo made one final transmission. "This is Admiral Hyunwoo's final message. My ship can go no further, but the message has been delivered. The Mordaki Empire attacked Earth with 12 ships and barely escaped with 4. Let this be a warning to any species that considers threatening humanity. We don't forget, we don't forgive, and we never stop coming." The transmission included detailed technical scans of Mordaki weapons, shields, and ship designs, information that would be invaluable to any species that might face the Empire in the future. "He's giving away our secrets," Vexor said in shock. "No," Kixtha corrected. "He's making sure everyone knows we can be defeated." When they finally reached high command at the Mordaki homeworld, Thexel faced a council of angry generals and admirals. They wanted to know how 12 ships had been reduced to 4 by a primitive species. "The humans fought without logic," he tried to explain. "They used tactics that made no sense. They sacrificed themselves to achieve minor advantages." "You're telling us that a species that barely achieved spaceflight defeated the Empire's finest ships?" General Morthak asked. "Not defeated," Thexel said carefully. "We withdrew to reassess the situation, while being pursued by one of their vessels for 5 days. Admiral Keltar added. "The entire galaxy is talking about it. Our reputation is in ruins." The council fell silent. Finally, General Morthak spoke. "We need to fix this immediately. Prepare the Grand Fleet, 200 ships. We will destroy this human species completely." Kixtha felt fear grip her heart. She had seen what 3 human ships could do against 12. What would an entire human civilization do when faced with 200? "Sir," she said quietly, "perhaps we should reconsider. The humans have had time to prepare." "Prepare?" General Morthak laughed. "They're primitives. A show of overwhelming force will crush them easily." But Kixtha remembered Admiral Hyunwoo's final words. The humans didn't forget, they didn't forgive, and they never stopped coming. She had a terrible feeling that the Grand Fleet was about to learn the true meaning of those words. The memory extraction device powered down, bringing Kixtha back to the present. The 3 Veltaran scientists stood around her table in shocked silence. They had experienced her memories as if they had been there themselves, watching the impossible battle at Earth and the terrifying pursuit that followed. Zephyr was the first to speak. "The Grand Fleet. What happened when 200 ships attacked the human homeworld?" Kixtha closed her eyes. This was the part she never wanted to remember. The part that had cost her an arm and her sanity. "The battle was supposed to take place at Earth," she said quietly. "But the humans had other plans. 3 months had passed since Admiral Hyunwoo's pursuit of the Mordaki fleet. 3 months for humanity to prepare for the inevitable return of their enemies. The Grand Fleet had gathered at the edge of the Kepler 442 system, planning to jump directly to Earth and end the human problem once and for all. But when they arrived at the coordinates, Earth was not there. Instead, they found 30 human ships waiting for them. Only 30 ships, Lirith said. Against 200. How could that be a threat? Kixtha opened her eyes and looked at the Veltaran scientist. Because they weren't the same ships we had fought before. The humans had taken our technology and made it better. The memory device activated again, showing the Veltarans what Kixtha had witnessed at Kepler 442. The human fleet looked different now. Their ships were larger, faster, and carried weapons that seemed to bend light around them. But more disturbing than their improved technology was their formation. Theo, 30 human vessels had arranged themselves in a perfect sphere around the point where the Mordecai fleet had emerged from faster-than-light travel. They had known exactly where and when their enemies would arrive. Admiral Hyunwoo's voice had filled the communication channels, but he was speaking from a massive new flagship called the Earth's Vengeance. "Welcome back," he had said. "We've been expecting you." General Morthak had commanded the Grand Fleet from his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. He had looked at the tactical display showing 30 human ships facing 200 Mordaki vessels, and laughed. "You have improved your technology," he had admitted. "But you are still hopelessly outnumbered. Surrender now and we will make your deaths quick." "We're not here to surrender," Admiral Hyunwoo had replied. "We're here to teach you the same lesson we taught your advanced fleet. But this time we're going to make sure you understand it completely." The battle had begun when the Mordaki ships opened fire. But something was wrong with their weapons. The energy beams that should have destroyed human ships instead seemed to make them stronger. Their shields absorbed the incoming fire and redirected it back at the attackers. "Impossible," General Morthak had said. "How are they doing this?" "They studied our technology for 3 months," Kixtha had reported from her station. "They've learned to turn our own weapons against us, but that was only the beginning." The human ships began to move in ways that defied physics. They seemed to teleport short distances, appearing behind Mordaki vessels before anyone could react. Their weapons fired projectiles that split into dozens of smaller munitions, each one seeking a different target. Within the first hour, 50 Mordaki ships had been destroyed. "This is not possible," General Morthak had roared. "We have the most advanced military in the galaxy." "Had," Admiral Hyunwoo had corrected. "You had the most advanced military. Now we do." The human admiral's words had been accompanied by the deployment of something the Mordaki had never seen before. Massive mechanical constructs that looked like metallic spiders began emerging from the human ships. They moved through space without engines, crawling from one Mordaki vessel to another. "What are those things?" Mira'an asked, watching the memory with horror. "Boarding craft," Kixtha said, "but not like any we'd ever encountered. They didn't try to breach our hulls. They ate through them." The mechanical spiders had dissolved Mordaki armor with some kind of acid, then swarmed inside the ships. Instead of fighting the crews, they had simply shut down the vessel's life support systems and weapons. Entire ships had gone dark within minutes, but the most terrifying moment had come when Admiral Hyunwoo had revealed his true strategy. "You came here to destroy humanity," he had announced to the surviving Mordaki ships, "but we're not fighting to protect ourselves anymore. We're fighting to make sure no one else has to face what we faced." The human fleet had suddenly split apart, revealing something hidden in the center of their formation. It was a massive space station, bristling with weapons and covered in transmitters. "This is the Earth Defense Network broadcasting to all civilizations in the galaxy," Admiral Hyunwoo had continued. "Today marks the end of Mordaki expansion. Today marks the beginning of human protection for any species that asks for it." The station had begun transmitting on every known communication frequency, sending detailed information about Mordaki military capabilities, their tactics, and most importantly, how to defeat them. "You're making yourselves the enemy of every species in the galaxy," General Morthak had warned. "No," Admiral Hyunwoo had replied. "We're making ourselves the protectors of every species in the galaxy. There's a difference." The battle had ended with the destruction of 90% of the Grand Fleet. Only 20 Mordaki ships had escaped, and Kixtha's vessel had been one of them. But escape had come at a terrible cost. "The humans didn't just defeat us," Kixtha told the Veltarans. "They made sure everyone in the galaxy knew they had defeated us." Within days, 12 different species declared war on the Mordaki Empire. Colonies that had served us for centuries suddenly rebelled. Our entire civilization collapsed in less than a month. Zephyr looked troubled. But the humans, what did they do after their victory? That's what makes them truly terrifying, Kixtha said. They didn't try to build an empire. They didn't conquer anyone. They just made it clear that anyone who threatened innocent species would have to face them. Alarms suddenly began blaring throughout the Velteran facility. Lareth rushed to a nearby console, his translucent features flickering with alarm. What is it? Zephyr demanded. Ships approaching the outer system, Lareth reported. Human design. They're not attacking, just observing. Kixtha felt a familiar chill of fear. They know I'm here. They know you've been asking about them. Should we be afraid? Mira asked. That depends, Kixtha said. Have you done anything to hurt innocent people? Have you threatened any species weaker than yourselves? Have you acted like bullies? The three Velterans looked at each other. Their species had always been peaceful, focused on science and exploration rather than conquest. No, Zephyr said. We have not. Then you have nothing to fear from them, Kixtha said. The humans don't fight for territory or resources. They fight to protect others. If you're not a threat to anyone, they'll leave you alone. A new transmission came through the facility's communication system. It was a human voice speaking in perfect Velteran. This is Captain Jamin of the Earth Defense Force ship New Sol. We detected scientific interest in human military capabilities. We're here to answer any questions and offer our friendship to the Velteran people. Zephyr activated the reply system with shaking hands. This is Senior Scientist Zephyr. We were interviewing a survivor of the recent conflict. We understand, Captain Jamin replied. Many species want to know what they're dealing with. We prefer honesty to fear. Would you like us to share our actual military capabilities? Or would you prefer to learn from rumors and incomplete reports? The three Velterans looked at Kixtha, who was smiling for the first time in months. They're doing it again, she said softly. Instead of hiding their strength, they're showing it openly. Instead of making enemies through fear, they're making allies through honesty. What should we tell them? Zephyr asked. Tell them the truth, Kixtha said. Tell them you want to understand. The humans respect that more than anything else. As the Velterans began their conversation with the human captain, Kixtha closed her eyes and finally felt peace. The galaxy was changing. The age of empires built on fear and conquest was ending. The age of human protection had begun.